So here I am. I am Gala. I'm a UX designer here at Ginetta. And I'm just gonna get the photo. And as I mentioned, or as Graydon mentioned just now, I'm just gonna talk to you about this topic. So how is teaching made me a better student throughout the years, but especially here at Ginetta? And I actually would like to kick us off with a question. It's going to be an open question to you all. And my question to you is, do we have any teachers in the room? And by teachers, I don't mean school teacher. Even if you have a teaching role within your personal life, I would just really like to know if that's something that you do. Nice. So I think you guys are doing something really important, and I'm really pleased that we have so many people that actually are involved in such an important task. So as a full disclaimer, I'm not a trained teacher, actually. And although I'm a daughter of one, never in my life I would have thought of being here in front of you talking to you about this topic. But as we all know, life really takes unexpected turns. So here I am, talking to you a bit about my journey. So let's go back to 2017. By the time I was living in London, and many things were happening back then in that context. I don't know if you remember, but negotiations of Brexit were ongoing. There was a royal wedding in May. And there I was, living my own little life. I was a designer. And I picked up this hobby, which I didn't know back then, but it really did change my life completely. So I started this partner dance. It's a Brazilian partner dance, and it's called forró. Maybe some of you will know it. I'm not sure. It's a bit niche still. My social life really evolved around it. So I had lots of friends who also dance, were part of the communities. It was a hobby that really brought up so much happiness to me, and it really made me smile and made me really kind of approach life with lots of enthusiasm. So I'm now on my next slide. I'm going to introduce you to a really dear friend of mine. His name is Chinedu. And he's my first forró friend. He's one of my first dance friends. Till today, he's one of my best friends, and he's a person who's really dear to me. By that time, he was already actually involved quite a lot in the community. He already started teaching. He had his own dance project. He started organizing events and so on. And so one day, after one of our classes that we did together, we went out for a coffee, casually, just to catch up on life. How did the week go? And then, out of the blue, he just asked me this question, which really caught me by surprise. I wasn't really expecting it. But he asked me, "Hey, Gala, do you want to teach a dance class this summer?" And as much as it was a surprise to me, my answer was clear and immediate. And the answer was, hell yes, I am going to do it 100%. I'm completely unequipped, but I am going to do it. I'm going to work really hard to go and get this thing done. So there I started my journey, self-directed journey on learning. So I started talking to as many teachers who I really rated to find out what their techniques were. I started planning and scrapping on my sketchbooks, lots of classes, watched videos, prepared with friends, bounced ideas off other people. It was really, really like an intense journey. All I know is that I went all in. I was super committed to this dance class. So the day came, and here we are. This is my very first class that I taught in 2017. And I'm surrounded by all these happy, smiley faces that you can see on the screen. And you might think, man, she smashed it. It was a great success. The truth is, I walked out of that room feeling completely not happy about how I performed. Despite all the hard work that I put into it, I really did not feel as pleased with myself. And so, I left, took my tube to go back home with two ideas were bouncing around my head. The first one was, I sucked. But the second one was, actually, I really want to become good at this. So now I left going home, I was going home, and I had these two main ideas running around my head. And by now, I wasn't just obsessed with this Brazilian dancing, but I was also basically in charge or like going towards this new massive life goal that I wanted to achieve. And that, despite being a really interesting story, unfortunately, I'm not going to tell it to you right now because we're going to switch to 2023. So by that time, I was already working in this beautiful space. I was working and surrounded by amazing designers, colleagues who really, really inspired me, researchers, strategists. By then, I already worked on a range of very interesting projects as well that helped me grow a lot as a UX designer. And I had the opportunity to meet a lot of very interesting clients, such as yourselves, that you're here with us tonight. One of the clients that we met is professional in residence. It's peer, as we call it internally, is actually also how they call themselves for short. And peer, they are amazing. They organize a 4 weeks program for corporate professionals who want to up skills in agile business or startup culture and know-how. So why did they connect to us? They connected to us because basically they wanted us to support them in leading a 3 days workshop on design thinking. So there I was, and actually, out of the blue again, my manager asked me, "Hey Gala, there is this initiative going on, would you like to get involved in it?" And can you imagine what my reaction was? Hell yes! So once again, I was completely pulled towards this idea of sharing and teaching and being involved in this knowledge exchange. And actually, I'll tell you about it later. But before I go into my personal story, I just wanted to tell you a bit more about what we teach there at Peer. So it's a 3 days workshop, at least what we do as Ginetta. There is 4 professionals from Ginetta, so it's not just myself who go and are engaging in this teaching experience. We teach design thinking, and we have a cohort of about 25-30 students who come from very different professional backgrounds. So I mentioned our approach is very much, we mixed theory with hands-on exercises. Working on or learning in peer is very much, we really much encourage group work and collaboration. And it's a program where everybody really learns by doing quite a lot. So I mentioned our core content is design thinking. We go over the double diamond in 3 days. Actually, where I come in is just the 3rd day. So where actually students take their concepts and they transform it into something that is much more tangible. So we run fast prototyping workshops. My teammate for the day is fabulous Francisca, who's a researcher here at Ginetta. And during this day is actually super inspiring for both of us. So we really see all the students putting 100%. It's a very dynamic, really exhausting day as well. But at the same time, it's a super fulfilling moment for everybody. Students who are learning and acquiring new skills, but also ourselves, because we get to share what we love most. So let's turn a bit the lens back to me. Back then, when actually my manager asked me if I wanted to get involved in it, I thought that I would have freaked out and I would have got very nervous, because normally it's a kind of situation where I get very nervous. But actually, I surprised myself and I approached this request with so much calm and so much confidence. And then I realized, actually, all these years I've been teaching dance, I think I actually built up a knowledge base I can really leverage here. And by now, you might be thinking, what the hell does she mean? How can she transfer, actually, this kind of knowledge? Well, I'll tell you, is completely personal and is something that is very experience-based. But I think I developed almost like a framework that works for me. And it's a framework that I can rely on every time that I approach a task like teaching to someone, any project, any content, but especially content that I'm passionate about. I call it my 4 Ps mindset. And my 4 Ps are planning, presence, positivity, and perseverance. So when it comes to planning, of course, we talk about planning the content and planning the content really, really thoroughly. But at the same time, we really have to make sure that we craft it in a way that really lands well to the people that we're speaking with. So it's not just about finding the right information, but it's about actually crafting and making it so that people really absorb what we're talking about. And then there is something that actually goes a bit beyond the content, which I think is very important. And this is preparing the space, creating a space where people find it really easy and smooth to learn. And this goes from maybe like setting up the chairs in a specific way or preparing certain frameworks so that people can do their activities in a very smooth and fluid way. And then, of course, is honing the skill of being prepared for the unforeseeable. So I'm going to move now to presence. And I think maybe this concept is also super dear to me and is something that I learned a lot through my dancing career. With presence, first and foremost, I think is something that sometimes we forget in a professional environment, but is arriving in the room with your whole self. And with this, actually, I mean arriving with of course, all your strengths, but also with your vulnerabilities, with your flaws. Show your true self and create this really authentic dialogue with the people that you are sharing the space with. Of course, you have to take the stage. At the end, you're going to be the person that people are going to look at and look to. People are going to ask you questions. People expect knowledge from you. So you should, of course, be comfortable being in that place. But at the same time, this whole experience is not really about you, how good you are, or how much you know. It's about your student. So you should never forget your audience, and you should always attend to your students' knowledge needs. And then I kind of summarize these 3 concepts into this creating safe space. Safe space is super important. Of course, we want our students to succeed. But also we shouldn't forget that failing is also part of the process. So it's our responsibility as teachers to also create a space that accommodates for that and where students can see the value in it also. And now we go on to my positivity. You're going to see me in action in one of my dance classes. Unfortunately, I don't have more pictures about that. But what I mean with positivity for me is really encouraging people and students to think a bit outside the box, maybe taking risks. Yes, it's true. We teach methodologies, ways to do things, but actually it's really important to kind of encourage this critical thinking and this out-of-the-box thinking. And then we're really holding this very important space for self-development and growth. We also need to give feedback in order to facilitate this growth. And I really like giving progressive challenges so that we also support people in pushing themselves forward and actually keep improving and always doing better. My last concept before I wrap up is perseverance. So perseverance is a lot about communicating for me. Very often I find myself saying things and kind of expecting people to understand. But actually I have maybe to say it again. And most crucially, I have to find new ways of saying it. If someone doesn't understand something that I say, it's my also responsibility to change the message so that the concept lands again. This is because all learners are very different. And again, it's our responsibility to meet our students where they are. So finally, 2 points about myself. It's very important for me to keep stock on how I did, how I performed, keep improving the next time. So next time I can always do something better. And then one thing which I'm really dear to, it's really good to learn from your students. Each one of my students could teach me at least a couple of things that I treasure and I really kind of reflect back anytime that I go and teach a class. So, how did teaching made me a better student? So I can summarize it in 3 points. First of all, teaching keeps me researching on the content and topics that are dear to me. And this brings me into this continuous process of deepening my knowledge. But also, and most crucially, I always have to find new ways of communicating it in a way that really connects with the people I'm sharing the knowledge with. And this is quite magical. But to bring this to a close, why did I talk to you about this tonight? Of course, obviously, I am super passionate about empowering people with knowledge. It's something that really, truly makes me happy. But also, as I stopped and reflected back on my journey, the journey that took me to talk to you about this topic here, I really realized that there were few people who actually opened up spaces for me, maybe saw some potential in me that I actually didn't even know that I had. People who shared knowledge so generously that was actually really humbling. People who really inspired me. So if I have only one wish for this talk, is that you might walk out of this room and you might go and find a happy place where you'll be happy to share what you're passionate about and learn also from your teaching experience. So, thank you very much for your attention.